welcome to the Macro Chat Live Show. Guess who's in the house?
Woo.
Oh, I did it again wrong. I do it every single time. Welcome. I am so excited, Mitchell. It's Mitchel Wu, toy photographer.
That's
Oh,
right.
gosh,
Yes.
I'm so happy to have you, seriously.
Thank you. And I'm so glad you sang your song at the beginning because I was going, is she going to sing the song?
Well, Mitchell, we were trying to get you on. Remember, we were talking for a while and you've been so busy. So
Yes.
Today it's all about you. I'm so excited and so happy that you're here. So for those of you that have not been here, this is called the Macro Chat Live Show, Macro Live Chat, whatever. We chat with macro photographers. Well, actually, it's close-up, macro, and micro photographers. And once a month, we have an amazing photographer, just like Mitchell, that comes on where we really dive into you, Mitch. We're going to go right into you from the beginnings and all kinds of good stuff. We also have a critique. And Elise, last minute, Elise is here. Yay!
Thanks, Elise.
Yes, thank you. And hi, Smith. Hi, Joe. Hi, Tommy. Hey, nice to see you guys. This is a chat show, let us know where you're coming from. And in between little things, I'll go back and read so then Mitch knows who's here. This is awesome. And of course, if you guys have questions as we're chatting, let us know in the chat and AD will ping us so we can answer your questions. So this show, just to let you know, Mitch, I'm going to tell all these people real quick, and then we'll get into you.
Nice.
It's every other Thursday at 1 p.m. And again, we are here at 1 p.m. And next month, we have another awesome photographer. So I'm excited for that too. So let's do this. We're going to go. Let me just tell you real quick with Mitch, and then we'll do the sponsor because you guys, Mitchell is just like, he's based in California, but we'll know a little bit more about him in a second. But what's really exciting to me, I feel, is that your passion. You've worked with Walt Disney. You've worked on so many different things. Pixar. If you go to his website, which AD has put down below, don't leave the show. Just look at his work if you don't know who he is, and then this way you could see as he's talking. So we will really get into him in a second. Let's go ahead and do the promo sponsor. And then we will dive into you for sure.
Yes, nice.
Yes.
Ready to accomplish your macro photography goals? Our SJP membership will keep you on track, hold you accountable for your goals, and teach you new techniques. This program provides you the value of a college course with the fraction of the price.
For more information, head on to membership.sullivanjphotography.com. It's time to focus on your goals to get you to where you want to be.
So don't miss out.
Hey, okay, so you know what, Mitchell, we have people here Joe's from Florida, Elise is from Ireland.
Love that.
Yes, and then Tommy's from Vermont. Paul is, he just says, hey, Mitch, absolute legend with the thumbs up. How awesome is that? And then
Cool.
Smith says Indiana and Paul says England. And we'll go in and check on them too, for sure, as we go in. But I want to share something really quick.
Cool.
I always I do these things. I give you guys some stuff that we're going to talk about, but then I always dive into you. I saw a PBS, which I will share later in the link down below, a PBS show that had you in it. Do you recall the PBS?
Oh yeah, LA Art. Really good
Art.
show. Yeah.
It was so awesome. I highly recommend people watching you. You really talk about what I'm hoping you're going to talk about today. But what I would like to do really is I want to know, I want you to let people know your journey, like how you started photographing and then getting to the realm of toy and macro and then where you're at now. It would be really awesome for people to do that.
Well, I've always been creative my entire life. I knew from like high school that that's what I wanted to pursue as a career. I went to art school in Oakland, California, and I majored in illustration. When I got out of art school, I started working, and immediately, as I look back, I realized I immediately got off my path, which I wanted to be an illustrator. I immediately got into product design and product development. I have no complaints. It led me to exactly where I am today. It's my family is because of all the steps that I've taken, but I definitely got off my path. I worked for Disney, product design and product development. Wonderful company. I love that company. In 2006, I had a couple of really big life changes. I lost my older brother. I had a really, really bad job. And it was then that I realized that I wanted to try and work my way back to my original path of being creative and telling stories. So I decided I was going to I wanted to be a professional photographer. And I'll never forget the first time I got my first camera. It was a Canon Rebel XTI, I think it was. And I was all excited. I went outside to take some pictures, got back inside with my card full of photos, put them in the computer, and every single one of them was blurry. So it's like, oh, so it's not exactly like a point and shoot. You actually have to learn how to figure out how to take pictures. And so it's been a long journey, and I'm still learning today. I mean, what is that, 14 years later? When I did learn how to do everything pretty competently, I started doing commercial shoots, corporate photography, headshots, lifestyle, and I ended up shooting a lot of weddings, probably 150 weddings over 7 or 8 years. And I don't know if anybody ever really sets out and says, I want to be a wedding photographer. I mean, if you talk to a lot of photographers, there's this kind of like stigma with wedding photography. But I had a close friend's mom ask me if I would photograph her wedding. I could not say no. And it's when I started looking at wedding photography 10 years ago and seeing what was being done. It kind of blew my mind. There was a lot of storytelling. There was creativity. And so I jumped in head first, and I went for 7 or 8 years. It was when in 2015, my daughter was just entering high school. She was a competitive swimmer, and I was missing, because of weddings happens on the weekends, I was missing almost everything that was happening with my wife and my kid during the weekends. And going into high school, I knew that she had 4 years left, and she was going to be gone in the blink of an eye. So it was in 2015, I made a conscious decision. After 2015, I'm not photographing any more weddings. I had no idea what I was going to do, but that was sure, because I didn't want to miss any more of what was going on with my kid. But right around the same time, amazingly, my nephew, Johnny, he lives up in Northern California. He said, "Hey, Uncle Mitch, I've been shooting toys. Next time you come up to San Francisco, bring your camera and we'll go out and shoot some toys." So it took several months, but I eventually did make it up there. And I had no toys, but of course I had all the gear. So I brought my gear. He lent me some stormtroopers. We went to a park and I started shooting toys. And within the first couple of clicks of the shutter, I immediately saw the potential of, first of all, the creativity and storytelling aspect, but secondly, the possibility of making a career out of it. So it was very early on, like within that first day, when I thought that there was potentially a career to be made at that. And so that was the start of the journey. I spent the first year like building my portfolio, developing my style, learning some of the techniques that are unique to toy photography. And then in 2017, I really tried to hit the ground running. I had a 1-year contract with Mattel right away. And then it's just been, every year has been even more amazing. And even today, it just keeps getting more incredible. So I'm very grateful. And when I look back, I feel like this right now is the career that I always imagined that I'd have as an illustrator out of art school, because I'm creating images that tell stories. I often sometimes draw in them, which people would never know. I'm doing magazine covers. I'm creating images for clients. I'm really, really happy and grateful and excited to be doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's great. Oh my gosh, what an amazing, awesome story. And as I listen to you, one of the things that I see, that I can sense is that when you put your mind to something, you're going to do it. And so that's pretty amazing because people get scared. I mean, you said, okay, I'm done with wedding. You're like, and it's so cool to know that you just said, I got to do something because of my family, because it really is all about family, your brother passed away. I mean, I get it. It's like the time is going by so fast. And it's good for people to hear that are out here, these people are macro, close up, and micro creating. And look, you guys, Mitchell's like, do it what you love. I love it. This is a great story. Wow, it's amazing. As you were making these incredible images, I wasn't going to say this live, but I'm going to say this. We have, it's hard to get people to submit images for, because it's, I'll just say Mitchell's just amazing. All right, you guys, awesome. So I have a Facebook group that's over 6,000, and Elise, I have to tell Elise, she rocked it. She sent an image. So we have something when we get to that point. But as we're looking, because we're going to talk about how Mitchell works and all that stuff. Just, as you guys can see, I want to say this straight out. Look at how nice he is. You should have entered some images.
I would have loved to have seen them. I love seeing toy photography, and you'd be surprised at what I think is important with toy photography. And it's not like creating the most technically amazing images. That's not it. It's about other stuff to me.
Oh,
so yeah.
Awesome. This is a perfect segment. Let's go ahead and share his website. We'll do Mitchell's website so we can talk, because I'm going to ask, this is his, if you guys haven't seen it, oh my gosh, enjoy. And also, I want you guys to check out his YouTube channel. I will also put that down below. My daughter helps me, so she probably, when we do the timestamps, she'll end up doing that, putting the link down below. So anyways, one of the things that I want to, there's two different ways, and it's up to you on how you want to talk about it. But what I'd like to do is I'll pick your gallery out here and ask you about thought process. And it's just more about people seeing your work. You don't have to talk about the individual image if you don't want to, but I really would like to know your thought process on, do you have a vision? Do you, like you said already, you sketch things out. How do you work when you're starting something fun like this with your creativity?
So that top image is from Toy Story 4, and it's Duke Kaboom on he's kind of like an Evel Knievel character. I'm sure he was modeled after Evel Knievel. And that's Forky on the left, who is the main character of that new movie, Toy Story 4. So I had worked at Disney for 6 years in product design and product development. And one of my toy photography bucket lists was to actually have Disney as a client create an image. And I thought that would never happen because I tried. I guess the key is you can't try like that, because when I wasn't trying, they contacted me. And that image there was one of 6 that I created for, it was kind of like a promotional / celebration of the release of the new movie. So that was amazing. The thing is, it came so last minute that I had no idea what the characters were about. I didn't really, just from what I could find online. And that was the image I came up with, just something fun. He's not actually trying to splash milk on Forky. He's trying to help him with milk on the cookie. But either way, it's fine. And that was done in my kitchen, where a lot of the Toy Story photos are, on my kitchen table. So yeah, it was just, it's fun to splash milk.
Yeah. So when you were thinking about this, did you just get the toy? When you shoot, does it come to you as you're shooting, or do you think about it before?
Yeah, it can happen many ways. This one, okay. I love splashing liquids. It's very dynamic. So I that's how I got to this item. But for a personal image, which I don't think is in this gallery, it was also of Forky. And I was sitting at my kitchen table with my wife, and I just had Forky, the spoon character, sitting by me. I was trying to think of something. And all of a sudden, I just started thinking, okay, he's a spork. He's a spoon and a fork. It's a spork. And then it was like a big light bulb went off, and I ran to one of our closets where we have these like plastic utensils, and I pulled out a plastic spoon and a plastic fork, and I laid it down on the table right next to Forky. And then the image ended up being like Forky jumping up and down, all excited because he found his mom and dad, basically.
Oh my gosh, that is so
So
cute.
the ideas can come from almost anywhere. A lot of times what drives my images are I try to present really well-known characters in unexpected ways. So because really what we know about the Iron Giant or the Where the Wild Things Are, Maurice Sendak's book, we really only know what their creators tell us what to know about them. So for example, Darth Vader, we are told that he's an evil villain. He does he's evil.
Yeah.
But in my mind, is he evil 24/7? Or when he gets off of work, does he go up to his cabin, kick off his boots, have a beer? What does he do? Because I'm pretty sure they're not like that 24/7. So I like to look at like characters that are really well known and kind of come around them from a different angle and see what I can learn and what I can show other people.
That's wonderful. That is so amazing. I love it. And you have such a variety. So when you're shooting, do you always use light or, oh my gosh, I love this. I used to watch this as a kid.
Which one? Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo's awesome.
Yeah, so I see you're using, so this one, I could see that this is you in the background. I love this one too, because it has you in it. This is really cool. But yeah, I noticed, what do you do? Do you use a lot of, we're going to talk about your equipment in detail later, but I'm still curious on what do you.
In general, I mean, like every, whatever genre of photography you're into, light is like one of the critical components to it, right? I mean, so when I first started shooting toys, I used primarily just natural light. I'd go outside to a park. I'd find a spot that had a nice diffuse light, maybe in the shade behind a boulder or under a tree, and I'd shoot the figure there. But as I've been doing this longer, I start thinking about how light can help tell the story a little more, and how you can, of course, as you start to learn more, you want to start incorporating, whether it's noticeable or not, but you want to control the light. You want to be less at the whim of what Mother Nature's giving you. So at the very least now, I'll use like off-camera lighting for fill. I'll use it for rim lighting or backlighting, or I'll put some gels on it to create a mood. It might be completely dark with a very focused light on certain areas. It's really about using light to tell the story and maybe telling people where to really draw their eyes to. So there's definitely a more intentional use of light now than when I started.
Yes. And you know what? As we're scrolling down, you can see this is a great tip too, you guys. Did you hear what Mitchell said? He's drawing the eyes he's lighting the areas where he's drawing your eyes to go. I want to say this is awesome with the toilet paper because the pandemic. When I saw this,
that was right at the beginning of the big toilet paper shortage of 2020, which we'll never forget. I still don't understand it, to be honest with you. Why there was a big run on toilet paper. I understand food, water. But anyways, yes. So, and that brings up another point. A lot of times my ideas will come from observations of what's happening, either in my own life or in society or whatever. And obviously the toilet paper thing was huge, and so was washing hands. I don't know if I have the image in here, but I have another image of this big monster from Star Wars. He's at the edge of the water and he's got soapy hands because he's washing his hands. That was another one.
Oh my gosh, that's
inspired by the pandemic.
That is amazing. This one's beautiful right here I just love the lighting and the composition. And I mean, it's just, all your work is amazing, but there's some that really stand out to me that are just so much fun.
Yeah, I probably had like 3 or 4 small LED lights, a couple where you see the light streaming through that little porthole, and then one behind the tentacles that you can't see, but it's casting the light forward. And the mist is a product called atmosphere aerosol. It's like fog in a can. You just kind of spray it in, and it really accents and brings out those rays of light. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is fun. Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, this is great too. All right, let's see. Well, let's go back to us for a little bit, but I'm going to come back to his images. Let's go check out the questions.
Cool.
So we will, let's see. Walter says, love the wild things, inspiration.
Thank you.
Interpretation, sorry. Here, okay, so let's see. Oh, Debbie's asking, how do you get the feet off the ground?
It's such a good question because Debbie, the first time I saw like images from my nephew, he had a picture of like a Ninja Turtle on a little BMX bike kind of jumping over, I don't know, a little chasm or a canyon. And I'm going, oh my God, how did he do that? Did he throw that into the scene and just like capture at the right second? But no, it's really all done with, I mean, it's almost like how you see practical effects done with movies where actors are being flung through the sky and they're on wires. It's very similar with toy photography. You can either suspend a toy with a wire or you can use a wire to prop them off the ground. And that's essentially what I do. So when you're in post-production, if the wire is not hidden, then you simply take it out using Photoshop.
See, perfect. That's awesome.
So look behind the curtain.
There's some great stuff. I bet Ant-Man is still using the same role. Ant-Man is in here too. It's too funny.
I get it. Although, you know, Ant-Man can become a giant. If you've seen one of those movies, he becomes bigger than a plane, in which case a whole role wouldn't even be one wipe, really.
That's awesome. I love this show. Let's go back to the images because I want to talk about post-processing.
Sure.
So, so we have, look at how beautiful this is. So this is a perfect example. Wow, this is really cool. Was this done in like the matches and everything? This is the perfect one too. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Of course. Well, I just kind of alluded to how I get things to stay in the air, and that was exactly I would probably do it a little differently today. I did this one maybe 3 to 4 years ago, but each match was on a separate wire, and it was basically just taped to the table. I lit them, and I blew out one of them where you could see the smoke, and I took the picture, and then I probably cloned out the wires in Photoshop in post. But now, you know, because back then I didn't know much about compositing. The other option would be to take an image without any of that stuff in it first, then put in the matches, and then erase the wires after the fact using the original image as the background. There's a couple different ways to do it, but it's actually pretty basic. Yeah.
And you know, it probably took you, I mean, it takes you some time to do this setup. One person who is it? Let me see. We're going to get a splash. We don't have to go back to SAD, but let me read this. Thomas said, was it Thomas? Oh, no, it was, oh gosh, I'm sorry, Figueroa's. How is the splash effect done? So here's one with the splash effect and smoke. Boy, you're rocking it in this one. This is beautiful.
Yeah, that one was for Hasbro. They had just come out with this Power Rangers toy line. It was fun. It was kind of intense. Like if you have a way of getting to my Instagram page at some point and you scroll down a little ways, a few months worth, you'll see this image and you can swipe through slides and you see exactly how I did it, but I'll tell you how I did it. This is on my patio, and my patio is just a stone patio. And when I want to create a river or a lake or anything, I just pour water on it and it just turns into whatever I want it to be, which is cool. It's so cool. I have those figures on wires. Each of them is either standing with a wire on them or supported, like the one in the middle in the air. And I separately, with the water, I take a can of compressed air and I shot it in each one of those two. And it takes a little time, it takes a little practice, but you eventually get the splash that really supports the story that you're trying to tell, which is them running towards each other. The smoke was done similarly. I had a stick that I just lit with fire, and I put it near the little fire spear, and I blew it out and the smoke came out. And so it was, and I didn't want it, and the wind was not cooperating that day because it wanted the smoke to go the opposite direction, but in the direction he's running, it has to go in that direction. Yeah. So it took me a little while to get that, but that's obviously, you see the final edited image, and I loved how it turned out, and I loved the process of how I got there. But compressed air, splashing water, and you could do Photoshop brushes for smoke and for a lot of things. For me, I prefer, if I can, just to do it practically because A, it's more fun. B, I think it's a more interesting story to tell. But yeah, I mean, my philosophy is do whatever it takes to get you to the best story and to the strongest image. And I don't care if that's full on digital effects. I don't care if it's practical effects. There's different schools of thought on that, but my thought is just do whatever you enjoy and just, make it yours and do it good.
I love that. Thank you so much for that wonderful tip, because people get so hung up on all that other stuff. And, it can be intimidating for a new photographer when somebody's like, oh, you should have did it this way. I didn't ask for your feedback. You know what I mean?
If I'm asking for criticism,
okay?
then go ahead and let me know. But yeah, I hear you. So I want to talk a little about this dinosaur because
Yeah.
I just want to shout out to this company. They're called Schleich USA. They're a German company, but they've been around for decades, and they're here in the U.S. And they signed me for a 1-year contract to kind of represent them. And they had this amazing campaign called The Power of Imagination. And what they did was they got all these kids together and they filmed them just free playing with all of their toys. And they sent me a bunch of the clips, and I chose which stories that they were make-believing, what they were playing, and then I created images off of them. So it was such a cool idea. I thought it was so magical, really. I mean, the story here was this little kid. He was in his bedroom at night, and he was struggling with his homework, and he saw a dinosaur outside the window, and then the dinosaur came in, and he helped him with his homework. And as I like to say, anytime that a dinosaur is not there to eat you and he's there to help you with your homework, I think that's a cool idea and a cool image. So yeah, Schleich, they set me loose, and it was just the power of imagination was like a dream campaign to work on for a toy photographer. Absolutely incredible.
You know, that's really cool because they love your work so much. They're just saying, you go and do it.
Yeah. And I just love that image. I mean, that's one of my, out of any image that I've done for a client or just for myself, that one's definitely towards the top. It's just kind of cool. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's a great story for sure. This is cute. I love this one. Michelle says, longtime Mitchel Wu follower.
Thank you.
Love your work and have watched a lot of your BTS videos. Behind the scenes. So yes. How much time do you usually spend in post-processing? She's just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, the time spent on setups and post-processing really depends on obviously the image. If you went back to that one with Woody and Jesse kind of juggling the matches, then that one probably would have taken a little longer than usual, especially back then, since I kind of probably did it the hard way. There's just a lot more editing that has to be done, removing of wires. Mm-hmm. Whereas the image that we just saw of the T-Rex tutor with the book and the pencil in his mouth, that one, the setup took a little while, but the editing was actually quite simple. So like the editing on this one probably took maybe an hour. But some of the more complex images that I've done, they can take up to a day. Just like those stormtrooper, or even this one here with the Yoda and the splashing, the stormtroopers flying, that one took quite a while to set up just because of positioning them with the wires and getting the splashing motion, and editing probably would have taken, I don't know, maybe a couple hours in that one. So it varies from an hour to maybe a full day or even more for some of the more complex ones.
Right. Yep. Oh my gosh, just adorable.
Oh, there it is. There's the one with Forky.
Yeah, he's dancing. He's up. Yeah. So
but
cute.
You would not believe when I first got the idea and I brought Forky and those two little plastic utensils and I put them on the table with my wife there. As soon as I saw it, I just started busting up. It was so hilarious. I thought, oh yes.
It is. It's great. What an awesome story. Oh my gosh. Now, does your wife film you? Because your videos are awesome. You're behind the scenes. Is she the one that's doing all that video?
Primarily. No, I do it myself. She's helped with, I think, one video where I was laying on the ground and she kind of came up from a distance, low to the ground level, and filmed me while I was laying on the ground. That was one of her shots. But typically, she's at work. She's a teacher. She teaches ceramics at a college. So I'm usually here at home alone. So I'm doing these things on my own. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's cool. That's a lot of work. You did amazing. Let's go ahead and go back to us. I can't believe that you're doing the video too. No wonder it was so hard to get you on the show.
I'm glad I'm finally here. Thanks for your persistence, by the way.
Yeah. What I have a thing on there. It says, it's on the wall. It says, I'm not verbally repetitive. Oh, wait, I'm not a nag. I'm verbally repetitive. Well, I just loved your work so much. Seriously. It's just inspiring. It's fun. And I just think it's really amazing. So what I want to do now is we will talk about giving even people more tips because, that's what I want to ask you right now. Like, how do you keep yourself motivated? Some photographers just get in these little slumps. And I always like to ask, photographers like you that are very successful in doing things that, you love. How do you keep yourself going? for those photographers that maybe just like, my
Yeah,
stuff
it's a really good question. For toy photographers, it's probably not as difficult because when we start to feel a slump, we go out and buy more toys. and buying toys and getting new toys is like an immediate it's immediate motivation because you want to go out and you want to photograph that toy and you want to create some new stories with it. So that's kind of the shortcut, kind of cheap out answer. But for myself personally, other than that, when we're not in a pandemic, we always go to the museums and the galleries. And I just think all types of visual stimulation outside of what you do. I mean, it's easy to, if you're a macro photographer, it's easy to go on and find another blog that has macro photography. But in that sense, maybe that's okay. But I think as a better way to kind of get you out of your creative block is to go out and see some movies, go to a gallery, go hiking in a park, and just change your point of view, change your surroundings. It's always worked for me. But a lot of times, like I said, I don't have to do that because I'll just order a toy off of Amazon and I'm fixed.
What a great career. How fun is that? That is so cool. I'll have to tell you another behind the scenes with me. So I'm, working on the show and going through your stuff, and my grandchildren are just like right on there. What's that? Oh, and then they're talking about like all the different, Ant-Man and all the other stuff. And it was so cute. Yes, look, I get to talk to him tomorrow. It was so
Sweet.
cute.
That's awesome.
Okay, let's see. We have Walter says, do you sell your images to art collectors or are you licensing them and being commissioned to make them from the companies who own the IP?
Great question. So I do not actively sell prints. Once in a while, I'll get a request, an email. My kid would really love whatever it is. And a lot of times we'll go ahead and make that happen. But generally, I don't at this point actively sell my prints. The images, like probably 95% of what you see on Instagram or even what you just saw on my website gallery, they're all just for me. They're personal items. I create these images. Like everything you see on Instagram is really, it's kind of like the equivalent of a sketch pad. It's like I'm trying different things, trying to hone my storytelling. That's where I'll try different techniques to see if they work or not. A lot of times stuff that you see there or the stuff that you see in final client images, they were usually results of what I learned through my personal work. So, but yes, the only time, like the dinosaur that I did for Schleich, the T-Rex tutor, that was obviously a client image. I think that's the only one in there that was for a client. Again, most of it is personal. But yeah, I mean, it's...
And you have shows too. You've got some amazing shows. I was going to go to your show before. You had one over...
in Riverside.
Yes. The pandemic came and I'm sure you didn't have it, right?
You're right. It got pushed back to exactly a year away. So it'll be in June of 2021.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so I'll see you then.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Joe, Joe says, about how many images do you shoot per week?
Hey, Joe. It really depends on a couple things. First, am I engaged in a client project? Because if I am, then that's probably all I'm focused on, whether it's researching it or getting the materials I need for it or actually shooting it. If it's just like an average week, as running a business, I'm doing a lot of marketing, so it takes up a lot of time. But when I do have free time during a week, it's like if I could do one a day, I'd be happy. Nowadays, if I could do 2 or 3 a week, I would still be happy. It just gets harder to kind of scratch that itch, because there's so many other things that are happening. But it's probably the one thing that I love doing the most is just shooting personal work. So whenever I have a chance to do it, I will.
Yeah. And that's what brings out those creative juices too, which is a lot.
Yeah, and again, a lot of stuff gets worked out in the personal work, so it's important. It's important
to keep shooting, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right, you guys, we're gonna go to feedback. We're gonna do critique segment.
Yay.
So Elise has two images. This is the first one, but I'm going to go ahead and read Mitchell what she sent us, and then we'll do a little bit of give her some feedback.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Thank you, Elise. I was playing around trying to get a macro for St. Patrick's Day. I had this little sheep that I thought was cute. He is sat on two craft pom-poms secured with blue tack at the rear. I didn't even realize that. Okay, so then she goes, I had a real problem trying to compose him as I don't usually shoot toys. This was on black plexiglass in a soft box. I use a Canon 700D with 100 millimeter ISUSM lens plus a 20 millimeter extension tube. I used a tripod and remote shutter release with only natural light as I didn't want the flash reflection to bounce off the plexiglass. Post-production for me is basic, contrast, saturation. That's about it. I shoot raw, then convert. There were large areas of negative space as I wanted room to add text. This subject is way out of my comfort zone, so I'm not certain if it's even any good. She was shot at f3.5 at 250th of a second. So thank you, Elise. So this is the
Elise.
First one. Yes, I'm so happy. So I don't know if you want to do them because she did two of them. She sent two of them. So I don't know.
My comments apply to both. So you could put both up or whatever you want to do. It's fine.
Let's do that. Let me get that going right now. There we go. Let's do compare. Actually, it's doing. Yeah, we'll just do it this way.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah.
So, based on what Elise told you or told us, I'm not exactly sure what her goal was with the type, because apparently she wants to, at least you want to add some kind of saying or message or sentiment to it. And I think that's important to know, because if I don't know that, and I'm just approaching this from an image standpoint, I love the little sheep. I love the cotton or the pom-poms. But here's what I would say, and this is like my main. Technically, I love it. It's beautiful. Obviously, you've got the exposure and everything locked in nicely. What I would say to this, and basically anybody who's just starting out, it's. What are you trying to say with the image? Like, what is the story that you're trying to tell? And then if you're not trying to tell a story, then I would say, why not? Because so for me, and this is me, but for toy photography, I think this is what's really amazing about toy photography is it is a medium that just screams out for storytelling. Okay. And perhaps there is a story here that I'm just not seeing. Perhaps the story is this sheep was on a walk through a field and he got tired. So he found some really cool little bushes to sit in where he pondered his day or what he was going to do tomorrow, whatever it is. But for me, it's like, I want to see or know a story that's being told with this little cute little character. Because story is what drives everything. I mean, I talk about story and it's like, I feel like I'm a broken record. And today, a lot of kids won't even know what that means, because I would say I'm an MP3 file on repeat. But storytelling really is everything. It's the difference between a really nice, technically nice image, and it's the difference between that and an image that really speaks to you and wants you to come into the image to see what's going on, to learn more about this character and why they're there. So for me, if I had this exact toy and these two pom-poms, and knowing that you're in beautiful Ireland, I would have taken it out of the softbox. I would have taken it out of your home, and I would have gone out into the yard or into a nearby field, and I would have found a patch of clovers or something green and beautiful. Ooh, where these pom-poms could be kind of like part of that scene. Yeah. And I would craft that image and that story based on that. That's just me. Again, I'm not sure what your goal is, because
she wanted St. Patty's Day. That's why when you said clovers, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
that's how I would approach it. Different strokes for everybody, of course. I mean, there's people that shoot only indoors using dioramas and sets. But again, my wife and I would love to visit Ireland and Scotland someday, and I would love to bring my toys and my camera. But in the meantime, can I live vicariously through you? So please take this outside and shoot it.
You know what, Elise? I want you to try to do that, and then we'll show it back to Mitchell. You got to do it. She lives in a beautiful area too. It's south of Ireland.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? I was thinking. Okay, so the one to the left for me, I was like, oh, you know, it's cute, but I like this one to the right, Elise. So what if you put like take this out? And it's chilling because it's St. Patty's Day, and you guys really do chill out there. And this one has the eye, and it's sitting, and it's chilling. And I love Mitchell's idea of like putting it with talk about St. Patty's. If you put all the sit outside a patch of clover and all that stuff, how fun is that? I mean,
and even if you picked a clover among the clover patch and you kind of propped it in between his arm and him so he was actually holding one of the clovers, that would just push that story just a little bit more. It'd be really fun. It'd be cool.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, that is so cool. I love that. See, I love it. So this is perfect. We can go back to us. This is great information. I'll see if there's
Thanks again, Elise. That was so awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's really, really cool. And you guys need to submit your work and not worry about this. Okay, let me get this.
I understand.
I know. Let's see. She says, let's see if there's any questions. They're just chatting it up. Hi, Baz. Baz is here from England. Thomas is here. There's a bunch. They're all chatting, so this is great. What we're gonna do. Oh, she said I couldn't find a miniature pint of Guinness.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But Amazon has them. If you look under, not Guinness, but I have I did a shot with a Star Wars character with these tiny mugs of beer, and they have tiny little mugs of, like, it has like beer in it, but it's solid, but it looks like beer. You could definitely find stuff.
Oh, yeah. You got to look. That's so funny. Link is also in the description. Oh, I guess they're talking about AD. Oh, you guys in the chat, get ready because we're going to start diving into Mitchell's equipment. And if you, in the I think, well, below us, I don't know if they could see us. We already put some links in, but AD is going to put some links as we talk about Mitchell's equipment, and he's got some amazing deals that I told him already. I'm going to jump on one, but I think it's a perfect time. Let me see. Do you feel burned out from shooting macro toy photography and feel like you need to change subjects? If so, what else do you like to photograph? That is from Tommy.
Tommy, good question. I've been doing this over 5 years now. About 5 years, and I haven't felt like even a little bit of burnout. I mean, I feel like I'm just getting started, so it's hard for me to feel burned out. But as long as you can keep creating and challenge yourself with different techniques, bringing yourself to different sets and different locations, at least for me personally, I don't see getting burned out happening to me, at least for quite a while. But of course, I do like to shoot other things, but it's primarily family stuff, the power of photography with documenting what happens in our lives, even if it's and it really is just using my cell phone. It takes up it's something I love to do because I almost like, instead of keeping a journal, I just take so many photos with my cell phone throughout the day. And some stuff is really ridiculous and really nonsensical. It's just like, oh, and then I take a picture of it, and I throw it into one of my online smug mug galleries, and I can go back to any month, and I could see that one little image of something ridiculous, and it brings me right back to that day. So it's kind of like the thing where they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. I mean, it really works that way for me now because the cell phone is always with me, and I can upload to my gallery directly from my cell phone and not even think about it. And then 5 years later, I'll go back and look at that and I'll go, oh man, and it'll be just like it was yesterday. So I still do like to take photos, but I'm not really going out and shooting landscapes. I'm not shooting, unless I'm on vacation, of course I am, but I'm not doing portraits. I'm really shooting toys. And then just the family stuff here and there that I want to, and I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy doing that.
Yes, that is a good thing. And then you're happy because you took the chance and you did it. I mean, that's it. Plus, obviously, you're very creative. I noticed that I think on your video, I don't know if I think I did. I think you were a Joshua tree one time. I was like, that looks like Joshua tree. You hang out in the desert a lot, don't you?
I wasn't Joshua tree. That was several years ago, and it was summertime. So we did a little shooting, and then we got back into the car where it was air conditioned. Super hot. But even like super gorgeous place that we went a few years ago was Zion National Park, and they have this hike called the Narrows, and literally you're in between these red canyons, and you're walking in the water. The trail is the river, and the further you go up, the more amazing the canyons get. I took a couple of shots there, but yeah, I mean, it's fun when you get to go out. I took some photos of ET when I went on a fishing trip in Alaska, so that was fun. I always bring a toy with me wherever I go.
Yeah.
But usually it's my cell phone. But you make it work. And again, I look back at those toy photos and they're cool. It reminds me of that trip. Yeah,
see,
it's wonderful.
That's cool. And and I want to say something too to the viewers. If you guys watch Mitchell, you'll know that it doesn't matter. I think you were in Japan. It doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, you just go. You're like, I have my toy. I'm sitting here and I'm going to shoot it. I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but you were on the ground doing it and all these people are walking around you. I'm like, that is a passionate photographer. You rocked it. And then we showed the image at the end. Do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. I remember I looked back at that video and I remember I was kneeling and I was taking a picture of this character called Goku and it's like all of a sudden, and there's all these school kids around and tourists, and I immediately flopped down onto the ground, and my wife, she was taking the video, and she looks at the group of the kids, and one of the kids, he got like scared when, like you could see him step back when I went down on the ground real quick. So I think a lot of that, like I'm not shy about shooting in public, and I think a lot of that has to do with having shot so many weddings, because I'm just a one-person show, or I might have an assistant, but we're off doing our own things, and I'm literally within a huge crowd of people. And I'm just shooting. And you just kind of tune that stuff out. And if toy photography, it's interesting because people will end up saying, hey, what are you doing? Or they'll look and, it's just another way for people to see what's going on with a new art form.
Cool. With that said, we're going to go to the equipment, and I did see some questions, but I want to go to the equipment segment. So, because time is already hitting us. And so let's do that. And then we will do some questions after.
Okay. So
I love this. That's why I told this is a total kickback show. But you know what, you guys? Coco has not barked. Let me knock on the. I shouldn't have done that. That's going to start it. Okay. Oh, I got the other dog to bark, but Coco's in here. Okay, let's see. I'm so excited to see your stuff and tell people about all those great sales.
All right. So yeah, I brought a lot of equipment for my wedding photography days to toy photography. I did not need to go out and buy a single lens because I had everything I needed. Had I just started with toy photography, I'm not sure I'd have the same lenses, but I love what I'm shooting with. My main lens, I shoot with a Canon 5D3, and I shoot primarily with a Canon 135 millimeter f2L. And I just love that lens because it puts me a good 5 or 6 feet away from the scene that I've set up. And if you've seen a lot of my work, you'll see that there's stuff splashing, there's dirt and debris being thrown about. I sometimes will blow off fireworks. So having my camera a safer distance away just keeps it out of the mess. So the 135 millimeter is an ideal lens for me. Another thing you learn about toy photography is that one of the first things I like to tell people who are just starting, and every toy photography eventually learns this, is that you really want to be at the toy's level. So if your toy is on the ground, you want to have your camera down at ground level because that's going to allow the viewer to enter that scene more easily. It's going to bring a reality to that toy scene as opposed as opposed to standing taller and shooting down on it, then it becomes more of an object, more of a toy, as opposed to like really trying to suspend belief. You want to get the people to come into your world just briefly. So the first thing I want to talk about is this. It's called the Platypod. This is a Platypod Max. Let me show you what it looks like with the camera attached.
Yeah.
So this is amazing because, okay, so for ground level shots, what I used to do, I used to use a Manfrotto carbon fiber tripod, beautiful tripod. The vertical column, you can convert it to horizontal, and the legs would totally splay out flat. Don't say that 10 times fast. And then your camera would be really low to the ground. But it was a bit of a frustrating thing for me because the legs were kind of long, because they were tripod legs, every time I clicked the shutter, I'm pretty sure there was a little bit of vibration that eventually, like after a couple of shots, everything would just be out of focus just a little. And it was really frustrating, actually. And I tried other things. I've tried like, I don't know, I forget what they're called, but they're the kind of bendable, they have the round knobs. Yeah. And I've had problems with everything. And smaller tripods, just like the mini tripods, I'd always have camera creep where after a while it would start to sag down. And it was just a fluke that I found out about the Platypod. But when I saw it, I immediately saw that this was something that I wanted to try. And this thing has been rock solid. I mean, it's on a really good head right here, very solid. And these feet here, I brought it to the desert, and it was sitting on rocks. And these legs here, it's two ways. There's a soft end and there's a pointy end for grip. So in the desert on the rocks, I had these things coming from the top down. So the pointy end was down here, and it grips really well. And then each of these legs, and they're basically just screws, so it's really low tech, but it's really simple. And you can adjust one higher or lower so that it just kind of fits among the rocks, one lower, and then you just level it up, and it's so solid. So I've enjoyed using this. So that's the Platypod Max, and then they have a smaller one.
And AD put that in the link, and you get 20% off using Mitch's.
The code.
Your code. Yeah.
The code is Mitch20.
Mitch.
But you can see they have a smaller one too. It's called the Ultra, Platypod Ultra. And this was actually designed for like mirrorless cameras or smaller bodies, but it also works great. They have these goosenecks you can get, but it works great as light stands too. And I use them for light stands all the time. So
I
really,
love that.
Really handy. And while I have this is, so the one thing that didn't transfer over from wedding photography was it was the lights, because I was using off-camera speed lights with triggers, and I was using different kinds of diffusers, umbrellas, or whatever it is, softboxes, but it was way too much for toys, because for toys you're talking, and this is a big toy, but you're talking sometimes toys like this big, they're really small. And so you need lights that kind of cater to that size. So there's a couple of companies that make smaller LEDs. This is Lytra. The build quality is so fantastic on these. They're all aluminum bodies. They're waterproof. They're magnetic. So you could place it on something and just use it like that. I did a shot of Creature from the Black Lagoon in my garage, and I put different colored gels on this light, and I put them underwater, and I blew compressed air into the water, so it was all bubbly. It was just a fun shot, and it's like this was a case where the light kind of inspired the shot, just because the colors and the fact that it was waterproof. Yeah. So this is like the Torch 2.0. This is like the bread and butter of my lights. But sometimes you want something a little larger for more like a key light. This is their Lytra Pro, full temperature control, Bluetooth, which is wonderful. You can operate it with the Bluetooth. And then they have this studio light called the Lytra Studio. This thing is so incredible because where these, you need gels to control the color. This one, they have the gels built into the light. Don't ask me how they do it. I'm not like a lighting pro, but all I know is they have a setting, and you can do some things where you could go from green to red to blue to all the different colors. So it's all in here. It's waterproof, 20-hour battery life. This company is amazing. Lytra Lights, incredible. Yeah. And they've kind of changed the way I shoot just because of what their lights can do. So I think anytime a gear or a company's product can do that, they're doing something right. And then I want to talk about A lot of times I'll be in the desert, like you said, or even just shooting around the studio. Okay, I'm gonna get up now. I hope I don't knock anything over.
All your toys go
I use
down.
something called the spider holster. I don't know if you could see it, but it's like they have a full-on belt, which is great if you're doing a full day shooting because it's very padded and it's very secure. But I just have the belt clip right here. It's called it's just like a spider holster clip, basically. And you put this little this down on the bottom, it attaches, and it could go on a tripod as well. But it just slips in here and it's locked. You can't get it out. So when I go rock, like into the desert, I'm climbing on rocks, I need both hands free. This is perfect for that. Or even if I'm just anywhere and I'm setting up shots, to be able to have both hands free and to not have to put this down on the ground. As photographers, I can't tell you how many people I've known who's put their stuffs on rocks or on the ground or at the beach, and it's not a happy ending for a lot of them. So the spider holster is incredible in allowing you to keep your hands free while the camera's secure. This is also a spider holster hand strap. I've used this since my wedding days. I remember when I first started shooting weddings, I had 2 cameras and 2 neck straps. And after a long wedding, I was a wreck. So I tried so many different straps. I had this thing called I think it was a cotton carrier where it put the camera on your chest, and it felt good. But then at weddings, I kept getting like, "Hey, you going to fight a war? Or are you SWAT?" So it's like, okay, so functionally it was good, but as far as that aspect, it wasn't as good for me at weddings. This was the perfect thing for weddings because it took the weight of the camera off your shoulders and it put it on your waist. And if you have 2 cameras, you have them on both sides of your hips. It's wonderful. So, I mean, those are the 3 products. I mean, I use a lot of products, obviously, but these ones have been game changers for me, each one of them.
Oh, well, thank you so much for putting that on to share with us, because I really appreciate it, because I would be like, how does that work?
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, no, those are wonderful. And I love the water. My husband has a drone, so the small square lights, we have those.
Yes.
Those going. Yes. So I love playing with those. Let's see if I have any questions for you. Can you believe we've been on for almost an hour and I still want to talk to you about something else? Let me see. You did answer. Oh, and Paul says that he says it's the most loved in the toy photography world. See, now you guys can see how awesome he was,
I'll buy you a 6-pack next time I see you.
And somebody had asked about and I'm sorry because it's hard for me to go through, but somebody had asked about your lens, and you had already talked about that, so that question was answered. And if any of the questions that we didn't get, and I'll go through, maybe Mitchell, I could ping you or something, but
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sure you might have done it. But yeah, so I do want to ask you, like, is there a project or a new technique that you're playing with at the moment? I always like to do a little like poke of what are you up to right now? What are you working on?
Yeah, really fun stuff. I can't say a whole lot about it, but there is a documentary on Marvel that's going to be coming out sometime in the fall. It's going to be on Disney Plus, and I'm going to be in that, which is like, there's certain things that you can never imagine or even wish for because you can't even imagine that it would ever happen. That was so out of left field, but to be in this documentary, it's really, for me, it was cool. It was a very fun process. The crew were amazing. They followed me around New York when I was at New York for Toy Fair New York. Then they came to my house. It was just as the pandemic was just starting. They just squeaked it in right before everything got shut down. But they came here to my house and they kind of like documented my shooting 2 scenes. So what it is like amazing, like professionally filmed behind the scenes, very different than what you see on my YouTube channel. And I cannot wait for that to come out and for everybody to kind of see what's happening, not just in toy photography, but with toys in general and the rest of the Marvel universe. It's like, I think it's like 8 episodes.
Wow.
And I'm in one of those episodes. So that's something that was probably one of the more exciting things lately.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
If you
Thank
remember,
you.
because I know you're so busy, if you let us know when that comes out, and
Oh,
I'll
of course I
put it
will.
underneath
Yes.
this because people will watch this later, and they can go to and see your documentary. Oh my gosh, congratulations. How
Thank you.
awesome. It is,
Thanks.
definitely all your hard work, and you're taking those chances that you've done, saying life is short and enjoy it and do what you love and tell your stories is really really working out. I'm so happy for you. um,
Thanks.
do we have any last questions real quick, because it is the end of the show? I can't believe it.
If you
uh,
ever want to do like a show, I mean, it's not macro photography, but if you ever have the interest in doing like a panel of people on social media for photographers, I'd love to be a part of that because I've
oh,
learned a lot in 5 years and I've learned a lot of do's and I've learned a lot of don'ts. So yeah, that'd be something I'd totally be down for if you ever do that.
oh, that's great. That's a great idea. I mean, I've chat with so many photographers. Maybe I could actually even just get some of you, like I've had several photographers say, hey, I'd like to come back on. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. Anytime that you have something going on, you're like, hey, something really cool's going on, or I've changed this up, you let me know. But a panel would be really cool, because then the photographers that are watching can really learn from you guys, yeah, that's a great idea. Mitchell,
Cool.
maybe I'll just do
Thanks.
that.
Count me in.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything. AD, if you see something, let me know. So I'm going to go through the spiel. Basically, I just want to let everybody know that the next macro show is October 1st. It's a feedback loop. It's 1:00. And if you love this show, give it a thumbs up, because that gets it out to other people. And I really want people to understand how awesome Mitchell has, gone from where he's started to where he's at, and moving forward with all your great information, Mitchell. It's really been an awesome show. I totally appreciate it.
That was fun. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. I'm glad you did.
Felt like it lasted 10 minutes.
Doesn't it? It just goes by so fast.
Yeah.
It's too crazy. I just can't believe how fast these shows go. If you ever find a way to go to Vermont and want to shoot, this is Tommy, some awesome New England photos. That would be fun. Can you imagine some toys in New England? Oh my gosh. My husband's from Boston, Paxaca. So
no, I mean, that's Ireland, Scotland, and like New England area in the fall. Those are all on the list,
it is
Vermont, whatever, just the
Yes.
whole area back there is incredible.
Yes, it is a time, though. What's hard for us as Californians is that you have to pay attention to when, and you book your flights, and then it's like, oh well, we had a big storm and the leaves all fell off. I mean, this is what we do. I know the New Englanders, they get it all the time, but it is the most. When I went there, lived there for a little bit, I lived in New Hampshire with my husband. I'll tell you, Mitchell, it is the most unbelievable, beautiful sceneries.
Right.
Just, you would have so much fun for sure. And
There's
Ireland,
changing of colors there, but here in California, we get the changing colors of different kinds of smoke.
seriously. Oh my gosh, it is so bad for us right now.
It is.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. We get the orange sun.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful sunset, but it's for the wrong reasons, really.
Exactly. It's so bad. So sad. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for chatting. And again, I'm so sorry. Wait, Barry says he has a question, but I don't know where it's at. So something about, is there a book helping those who would like to try toy photography? No, you don't have any books, do you? I don't think so.
I don't. I mean,
YouTube channel has good information.
Yeah, I get a lot of requests, but I've just been so busy with other things. Maybe someday down the road, Yeah.
Yeah, that's
workshops, maybe books, maybe. Yeah.
Well, check out Baz. Check out his YouTube channel. He has really good information. You can find out goodies there. Also, remember that we have the sale, so check it out. Give Mitchell, go for his use his stuff and get the percentages off. I know I'm going to. And I want to remind you guys,
I have to say that Platypod promo code is a little rare. So if you've ever been on the fence about Platypod, you should think about it, because first of all, the product's amazing. Second of all, you don't see very many promo codes, so you should go for it if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure. That's the one that I think that's the one I messaged you, and I said, oh.
Right.
Awesome sale. And I think it's only a week or something. I don't know. It goes to
I think it's less than a week. I think it's like 4 days.
Oh, yeah. So you guys got to do it. It's so good for macro photographers.
Yeah.
Photographers. Because those tripod legs are frustrating. You just want to sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you guys. Okay, so we'll see you in 2 weeks. Again, you like the show, give it a thumbs up. And always remember that your 1,000 words does make a difference. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.